one of the first new items we have is the new glider, correct? Or glider? How do we pronounce glider or the glide bait?
Yeah, I call it the glider. It's got an A on the end.
We need to change the system there for us real quick. We'll update that.
It's been really cool, working with Molix over the last 3 years on all sorts of baits has been a ton of fun, and they've been very innovative. They've been willing to work with me in a lot of different things and really getting down to the fine details of how the baits work and colours and actions and everything in between, and then also keeping it at a decent price point. But I got to work with them on a glide bait, been fishing a glide bait over here for a fair while now and starting to sort of really get my head around exactly what I wanted. And, for most, the glide bait's about catching one big one, a trophy fish, a fish of a lifetime. But for me, I wanted to integrate it into my tournaments and be able to utilize it in a tournament somehow without going all in, without going for that huge bag. And so that's when I started doing it, and in 2018 had my best year yet, and it was mainly because of the glide. I'd led events on it, I'd made comebacks with it, I'd caught fish that just step you up, won you 10 grand, just one bite. And so getting the size right, the colour, the shape, and then also the action. And the biggest thing with the Molix Glide 178 is that it chops. And what I mean by that, instead of that bait doing big, long, slow glides, this thing is almost acting like a jerk bait, and it's going to chop and turn on itself and hard and make erratic, sharp movements through the reel handle. And pretty much what happened was we designed the slow sink 178, and it was just a huge hit. My Instagram is full of people tagging me in getting their first fish and biggest fish on that glide bait. And then I've had a couple of 25 plus pound days at Chickamauga, Gunnersville. I haven't caught a double digit on the Molix one yet, but I'm getting close. And we just had so much success with it that Molix came up with a floating version pretty much because we had so many people asking for it. And so we've got a few new colours, and this is one of the new colours coming out, like a thread fin, more a transparent clear water style colour. And instead of it being slow sink, this is going to float. So you can burn it, you can wake it, it's going to wake across the top, act like a top water. But when you've got it floating, you've sort of got, it's more versatile. You can actually do more with it. I've upgraded the hooks and made it sit like 6 inches under, or I can weight it down and actually make it suspend, 3 or 4 feet down. It's sort of a bait that you can do anything with by just playing with the weight of the hooks or your snap clip, whatever you want to do. So we're going to have new colours out in a whole new range. It's going to be the same 178 that everyone's loved, but it's now in a floating version.
Interesting. Carl, I can see you're fishing quad trebles on that. Do those come on the bait, or is that something you changed out? I also see you got a snap on the front of that. Can you tell us a little bit about the gear you throw a glider on? Yeah,
for sure. Owner hooks, that's what I use mainly, and Owner are the sharpest and thinnest that I like for them to be able to slip into those fish. But what I do with sometimes I like the quads, and then sometimes I like an Owner in the STS to make it super sharp and thin, because it's actually like a jerk bait. Like, I've got pretty heavy hooks on this because I was actually testing it to see whether I could get it to suspend down 3-4 feet, and I could. But a lot of people will see the hooks that I run on my glide bait, and they're like, man, they're small. And I treat it like a jerk bait. 90% of these fish are going to eat this bait when it's sitting dead still and you actually have slack in your line. And I've seen it literally hundreds of times over the last couple of years of a big fish coming up, biting the bait and spitting it out before you even know you've had a bite. All you've done is visually seen it. And so it's like a jerk bait. You have to have those hooks ridiculously like scary sharp and thin, so like when they grab it, it just slips into them. So I like to change up your trebles to suit what is going on. If those fish are really biting it and hanging on and you want to get that bait down a bit deeper, I have like a bit of a sequence, pretty much a number 2 if you want to get that bait to sit super shallow or float, a number 1 if you want it to suspend down 1 or 2 feet, and then a 1-0 if you want it to slowly sink and get down there. And that kind of is the same for even the slow sink. It's just going to be next level down in depth. A big one that helps you land a lot of fish is the swiveling hook. So the actual hook keeper here swivels, and so the fish can't get that leverage to be able to actually throw that bait when they jump. And then the snap clip is key. It comes with a snap, but I like to put a swivel on the end. Owner make a number 6 snap. It's called a snagless snap. Has a swivel on it. It's ready to go. And a lot of people don't like snaps or wonder why. But when you watch the action of the bait from tying it on or tying a loop knot compared to a snap, it's night and day. You have to have that snap clip on the front to get it to do those erratic, sharp actions and the bait to still stay upright and do all the things it needs to do to get bites. And the swivel is mainly because when you're making hundreds of casts, that bait tends to spin because it's a big bait like that, and your line will get twisted. So that swivel's nice to have there to keep that fluorocarbon nice and limp.
Interesting. Well, thank you for taking us through that bait. That bait's available for pre-order now on the site. Related to glide bait fishing, we know one of your sponsors, Miller Rods, made some updates to their Swim Sanity rod series. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for the guys out of California, we actually designed that Swim Sanity for the California guys, but that rod is actually for the big baits, like the huge 12+ inch baits, the Hinkle trout, the mother, and it's perfectly designed for doing ultra long casts. But for my glide setup, I actually have it's called the Dream Freak, which is the next one down. The Swim Sanity is a little bit overkill for this 6, 7, 8 inch style bait. The Dream Freak is more along what I like to use for my glide bait setup. It's 7'10". It has a detachable handle right in here, so at that length you can actually break it apart. Customized lure keeper, so I can hold the weight of a really big glide bait, and then just Fuji Alkanite guides all the way through. A really long butt handle so you can get it up under your shoulder, and also have leverage. So when you're casting, you've got that leverage and it's going to be nice and easy on you. A lot of people will use a flipping rod or a big heavy rod that they've got, laying around to try and do a glide bait or throw a glide bait. But I try and tell people, if you want to get into it, you're going to love it. Set yourself up with a real deal glide bait setup that's specifically designed for that technique, and then you'll enjoy the technique, you'll enjoy using it, you'll enjoy casting it, and then when a fish of a lifetime does eat it, and it's going to happen when you're fishing it enough, you're going to put yourself an opportunity to catch your PB bass. The rod and the outfit is going to do it. So the Miller Rod's Dream Freak is perfectly designed for that. It's not a broomstick, it still has tip, so you can feel and work that glide bait. And then it's going to be parabolic, so when you hook up, it's going to keep that fish on, but also have power down low to pull them out of a dock or a lay down or a snag. And then, everyone knows you use Shimano, but the big key with when you're looking at a reel, go 5.8 to 1, a slow ratio. So you got low down power, and it's acting like a winch. All that reel's doing is acting like a winch. At 5.8, it's easy for you to wind that bait in, and then when you hook a 7+ pounder, it's like a winch. You can just wind, it's going to pull that fish towards you. You're not going to actually have to fight it like this, trying to work that fish in. You're just going to be able to get it to the boat. And they're all huge key factors in actually being able to put that fish in the boat, because a lot of people get the bite, they hook them, but they don't land them. They're like, how many fish do you land? It's very rare for me to lose a fish on a glide bait anymore. Super interesting and so important when you're talking about a physically big and heavy bait on the outside of a fish's mouth to be able to control that fish and put them in the boat.
Yeah, yep. Very cool. And the floating bait is available for pre-order right now on Tackle. So if you guys want to get in line for those, get it right now. It'll be available very soon.